Okay, hello everyone and welcome to M Not P on MCP. Firstly, thank you for joining us if you're watching this video live. If not, thank you for watching later on. So firstly, we have to postpone MCP, MP, no, I've got it wrong again. Anyway, Pat's not with us, so we've had to postpone episode 4 because unfortunately he is suffering from pneumonia and is currently recovering in hospital. So best wishes to Pat. Hope he gets well soon. And we will get episode 4 filmed once he is up to it. In the meantime, we have decided, we had a chat over Messenger, and we were discussing what we can do to fill in the gap. And this is what we've come up with. We're going to discuss the leadership abilities of the different characters in the game. And sort of how we rank them personally. Some of them are very much up for debate. There'll definitely be some people disagreeing with a few of the options, I think. And Thanos does appear in this list twice because he does have 2 leadership abilities, one on each side of his card. So if you are unaware, in the game, there are the affiliations. Each affiliation has 1 or 2 leaders currently. And depending on who you choose as your leader in the game, it will activate a bunch of abilities. Usually 1 or 2 abilities for your faction during the game. And we've basically gone through and ranked them into what we think are the strongest. So we are going to start at the top. We have the A tier abilities. And what we think are the best abilities in the game. Now, when looking at this, we were looking at abilities that either gave you a very decent single ability or were generally power builders, something that's going to generate you power over the course of a game, or does something that's unique and free. So to start with, from the core set, way back from the core set, we have Red Skull. His ability is each time an allied character damages an enemy character with an attack, after the attack is resolved, that attacking character gains 1 power. So that's a really useful ability. Obviously, power is really important in the game. Anything where you're getting free power, whether due to you doing something or your opponent doing something, means you're getting power without a character being damaged or without having to attack. Now, in this one, you obviously do have to attack, but you are getting a free power if you do any damage. And free power on a builder attack might mean that you can get that spender attack off instead of another builder attack if it works out that way, or maybe allow you to trigger another ability to make the next attack better, or just do something else. So right from the very beginning. One of the core set characters, Red Skull, we're putting him in the A tier. Our second choice was one of the newer leaders, and that was She-Hulk, the newest leader. Apart from Black Bolt, he's technically already out, but not in the UK. So she is Defenders of Arcadia, the A-Force list, and when her ability is basically the opposite of Red Skull's, when an allied character is damaged by an enemy effect, another allied character may gain 1 power. A character may not gain more than 1 power from this leadership ability per turn. So again, really good power builder. If one character is getting attacked, the characters around her are going to get benefit from that by getting a power. And you can just keep getting power from this every time. So if She-Hulk's getting attacked, someone else can gain some power. If She-Hulk gets attacked, you could bodyguard with a Koye, and then you can give She-Hulk the power. If she gets damaged, throws are going to give you this. It's not just attacks. So you're generating a lot of power over the game if the opponent's attacking you. Again, free power is always good. Although obviously in this case, it does require taking some damage to get. Third choice was Magneto. And again, this is all about getting more free power. When a terrain feature is destroyed, after the effect is resolved, choose a number of allied characters equal or less than the terrain feature's size. Each chosen character gains 1 power. A character may only gain 1 power as a result of this leadership ability per turn. It's great because Magneto can generate a lot of power from this himself. Obviously, it is only 1 per turn, so if you ideally want to have 2 or 3 characters that can throw terrain in your roster to make the most benefit of this, but also your opponent, if they're destroying terrain to throw at you, they're also giving you power as well. So Again, another good power builder, puts it up in that top tier in my opinion, and Pat's opinion. Then we get away from the power building and we go to some sort of very unique effects, and this is why we've put Storm up in the top tier. Maybe not seen quite as much as some of the others, but I do think it's a strong leadership ability. Once per round, you may use this leadership ability during an allied character's activation, if it is not holding an objective token. If you do, choose an allied character within range 2 of the active character, and place the active character within 1 of the chosen character. So essentially every round you can get a free jump. It's not a long move, but it is just enough sometimes just to get in range to attack or to get you in range of an objective, and that's, you know, for free. So the second part of her ability though is always on. It's not once per round. This is just continuously. Additionally, when an allied character is targeted by an attack and the attacker is not within 2 of the allied character has cover. So she really helps to shut down ranged lists. Well, not shut down completely, but certainly reduces their effectiveness. And that's why I think she just creeps into the A tier, just because of a couple of strong abilities there. Then we have Miles Morales. Now, Miles snuck into the A tier. Arguably, he's more of an A minus, maybe a B, but I think this is where he could probably drop down, could probably go up. Now, Miles is great responsibility. It's for the Web Warriors. Allied characters may reroll 1 defense die. So the good thing is that it's a free reroll, and that's every time. So there's nothing bad about that. Additionally, they may modify and reroll skull results while they are holding or contesting an objective token. Now that's what for us pushes it up into the A, because there's not many cards or abilities that let you reroll skulls in the game at the moment. So being with the Spider-Man characters as well, they tend to be fairly objective focused. So having an objective and being able to reroll skulls, especially when you've got things like Spider Sense on Miles and Peter, allows you to potentially reroll quite a few dice. So that is why Miles sneaks up just into the A tier for us. Then we're going to drop down to the Bs. Now, again, there's a couple here that you might argue are A's, might argue. I don't think there's any you could argue down in this group, in my opinion. But I'm sure some people will have different opinions. So we have got Captain America. Again, core set character. He is, again, this is arguably an A minus, arguably an A, depending on how you see power saving compared to power generation. So Captain America is a day unlike any other, and each turn you may reduce the power cost of the first superpower used by each allied character by 1 to a minimum of 1. Now, this is why we've dropped it down to a B rather than an A, is that you need the power to start with. It does reduce the power cost of abilities, meaning that you get more economy out of your power over the course of a game, especially reactive powers and things like that, because it's per turn, not per round. So he is reducing that cost. You do need the power to start with. You also need to have some good abilities to be using it with, because you're not gaining anything. You're not gaining power. It's more economy. That's why it drops down into the B tier, in our opinion. But it is still a very useful ability, and like I said, over the course of a game, you are probably saving as much power as you are gaining with some of the other characters. So you could argue A minus, but for now, for us, it's just sitting there in the B. Next up, we have Black Panther. So again, an early affiliation leader. Now, his ability is King of Wakanda. After an allied character rolls attack, defense, or dodge dice, it may spend 1 power. If it does, the character may reroll 1 dice in that roll. Rerolls are good in game, can be very useful. No rerolling of skulls, but it is any roll. So dodge is important. You don't get many dodge rerolls in the game. Defense and attack. So if you really need to get that extra damage through, really need to prevent that extra damage, then he's got that option there with that reroll, and obviously any character in his team can do it. I think this is a pretty solid B tier ability. It does cost a power, which is why he's sort of you could maybe argue he should be a little bit lower, but I think the ability to reroll dodge and defense and attack leaves him solidly in the B tier. Thor is very similar in the case that his leadership ability costs power, which is why he is sitting in the B. At the start of each of your turns, one allied character may spend 1 power. If they do, remove 1 damage or 1 special condition from that character. Each allied character may use this leadership once per round. So, it's once per turn and once per round. So each character can use it once per round, but it is at the start of each turn. So you probably... if you've got the power spare, you're probably doing this every time, even if it's just to remove a damage, but removing the conditions is what's important. If you've got a character staggered, then definitely the 1 power is worth spending every time. If you've, some other conditions, you might think, it's fine, I'll just leave it on there. But it is a very useful ability. But again, it's slightly more situational, and it costs a power each turn. So we're going to leave that in the B tier for now. But Thor, again, it's a solid ability and works well with some of the bigger characters that you get in the Asgard affiliation. So it makes sense. Doctor Strange. Mystic Empowerment. Once per turn, when an allied character declares an attack, before choosing a target, it may spend 1 power. If it does, you can choose whether this attack is physical, energy, or mental, and if this attack deals damage, the target character gains the Hex special condition. Now, this is actually really good. I do think potentially it's situational, which is why he's in B. But spend a power to basically choose your opponent's weakest defense is pretty strong. So if you've got a physical attack and you're fighting someone like Venom and you just really want to switch it up to an energy attack, spend a power, done. Venom's suddenly on the back foot, only rolling 2 dice instead of 4 potentially. And other characters like Beast as well suffer with their energy defense. So, and then if you do damage, they also gain Hex. Hex is, another. That's an. I forgot what Hex actually does. So, I'm trying to think what Hex is, but I've forgotten what Hex is. But you're putting another condition down, and I'll remember what it is in a minute. No, I won't. So, yeah, Doctor Strange, solid B tier. Again, it costs a power, but I think potentially that puts him slightly above Black Panther, and certainly in the attack options anyway. Kingpin. Now, arguably, this is also an A-. And the reason he's in B is because it's the second part of it is only kind of... The best part of it, in my opinion, is only on the healthy side of characters. So this is his illicit network. Once per turn, at any time during an allied character's activation, it may spend 2 power to use this leadership ability. Move 1 asset or civilian token being held by the active character to another allied character within range 3. A character cannot hold more tokens than allowed by the crisis due to this leadership ability. Additionally, each healthy character contesting an objective token counts as 2 healthy characters while determining who is securing the objective. Now, that's huge. The second part of that is actually the main bit I see used. I've played quite a bit of Criminal Syndicate. I can safely say I've never used the chucking the objective to someone else yet. I can see use for it. It just hasn't come up in a game where I've needed it to yet. The securing objectives with counting as 2 characters, though, is massive, especially on turn 1, turn 2, when your characters are generally healthy anyway. If you play wide with a large roster, then you can really swarm the objectives, and the opponent, unless they've got a lot of control, they just cannot shift you off that objective. So Kingpin, solid B. If the second part was on both sides of the character sheet, then he would definitely be an A. And Mystique, Freedom Force. Once per turn, after an allied character interacts with an abstract objective token, after the effects are resolved, the allied character gains 1 power. Additionally, allied characters may use the following interact ability. Interact, secure objective token. Place a token on this objective token. While this token is in play, you are securing the objective. Remove the token if an enemy character contests the objective token. You may only have 1 token in play at a time as a result of this leadership ability. Again, Mystique opens up a lot of options for objective play. The being able to grab an objective and refund the power for that is great. You need the power to spend. It's not a free pickup. It's not as good as the X-Men Tactics card, but it is essentially free. If you spend the power, you're getting it back, which is very useful. The fact you can secure an objective and then leave it is also pretty huge. If you're playing something like Gamma Shelters, you can secure your back objective and then push forwards. Or if you're playing any of the ones that use the corners, you can secure one of the corner that looks the safest and then push up into your opponents. It just means you're not sacrificing characters to sit on back objectives. So again, it's pretty strong, a little bit more situational, depending on what objectives you're playing. Sometimes you might find it's less useful. But no, I think Mystic is, again, a very solid B tier leadership ability. Now we are moving on to the C tier. So a few less characters in C. You'll see that it gets less and less characters as we go down. I don't think there's any awful abilities. There's just less useful ones. I think I might have been harsh on Green Goblin here because this was used against me to quite good effect in a game recently. So Green Goblin is Oscorp weaponry. Once per turn, when an allied character is attacking, it can spend a power when modifying opposing defense dice. If it does, it may reroll 1 opposing defense die. So it's only defense dice, and it's once per turn. It might get an extra damage through. It might stop them being able to trigger something, I guess, or there's not much in defense rolls that trigger a huge amount. It's fine. It's a power to maybe do an extra damage, essentially. So it's okay. That's why he's in the C tier. It's not it's not awful. Then we have Black Bolt. Now, he's new, and I don't have his card yet because he's not out in England, but I've got his ability here. So, during each of your turns, 1 allied character may spend a power at any time. If it does, choose an allied character within 3, and that chosen character gains 1 power. I quite like the idea of power distribution throughout the team, especially when you've got a character like Lockjaw, who is going to be generating quite a lot of power each turn, although you're probably likely to be spending that teleporting people all around. Or, being able to give Lockjaw power to be able to teleport people. So, he sneaks into the C tier. I don't see people doing it often because there's obviously a range limit as well. But yeah, I'd definitely have to get some games in or see him being played a bit before we make a final judgment on that. But he's currently in the C tier because we haven't really seen it used at the moment. Then we have Thanos. Now, this is Thanos' injured side, not his healthy side. That's what ability sneaks into the C. So on his injured side, it's Death's Agenda. During the modified dice step of an attack, an allied character may suffer up to 3 damage. For each damage suffered, it may reroll 1 of its attack dice. If an attacking character becomes dazed or KO'd during the attack, this attack ends immediately. So when you've got some characters like Thanos, like Black Dwarf, like Corvus, that hit pretty hard and have decent-ish health, taking a damage or 2 here or there isn't such a big deal. And again, rerolls, essentially they're free, they're not costing power, they're costing health, which, arguably might be worse, might be better. But the ability to reroll is strong enough that it pushes it up into the C tier. And then we move into the last of our abilities, which is sadly the D tier. So we'll start with Thanos' healthy side. Now, you might look at this and think, that sounds really good. It just, because it's on his healthy side, I haven't really seen it go off very much. And that is Death's Agenda again. When an enemy character is KO'd, not dazed, KO'd, this character's controlling player scores 1 victory point. In theory, that is very strong. But it does mean you're probably going to have Thanos alive on his healthy side until probably minimum turn 3. You can get turn 2 kills. You don't see it too often, I would say. Not in my games, anyway. And I just think it's probably not likely to ever win you a game specifically, unless you're really battering someone. But that also means you're keeping Thanos kind of out of the fight in case he took that 8 damage and dazed. Now, he is tough, but I mean, I had him KO'd turn... Actually, I had Thanos himself KO'd turn 2 in a game recently that you can watch on the channel, even though Pat cheated. So, yeah. Arguably, in theory, good. In practice, we do think it's one of the weaker leadership abilities there is at the moment in the game. Then we have Mr. Cyclops. X-Men Blue. Once per turn, when an allied character declares an attack action, but before it chooses an attack to use, any number of allied characters within range 3 of the attacking character may spend 1 power, and for each power spent in that way, reduce the power cost of the attacking character's attacks by 1 to a minimum of 1 for this attack action. So it's kind of like Black Bolts, but more limited in the fact it's only attack actions, and to make the most out of it, you're going to need at least 2 or 3 characters bunched up so that they can share that. Range 3 is not small, but to chip in for the power, I guess on Cyclops himself, his Optic Devastation is normally 4 power, so reducing that to 2 or even 1 would be pretty good. But is it worth spending the power on all those other characters? Probably not. I don't know. Maybe. Who knows? But again, it's not someone I've really used in game, and I've only really seen Storm's leadership used in the X-Men. And I just don't. If it was a choice between Cyclops or Storm's leadership, I'm taking Storm's basically every time. Unless I'm building something around Cyclops' ability. I think that's the only time it might sneak up a tier. Again, that's our opinion. But do tell us if we're wrong, or if we're well off the mark with this, because we'd like to know. Lastly, we have poor Star-Lord. Now, I don't dislike his ability, and it's very Guardians of the Galaxy-ish, but what you sacrifice, I think, is too high. It's called Winging It. Once per round, at the start of your turn, you may choose an allied character and discard a team tactic card to use this leadership ability. The chosen character gains 3 Winging It tokens. After rolling attack, defense, or dodge dice, it may discard 1 Winging It token to reroll up to 2 of its dice. Only 1 Winging It token may be discarded per roll. Remove all Winging It tokens from the character during the cleanup phase. Alright, so I've already said rerolls are very good in this game, and 2 rerolls per token, 3 tokens, that's 6 rerolls a turn. That itself is good. I have no issues with that. That is very good. It's what you sacrifice to get it. You get 5 teams tactic cards per game. And to discard one of those for some rerolls, yeah, there will be times when it's worth it. But usually you've built your strategy around your characters you've chosen and your team tactics cards that you've then picked following it. Now, you may pick some that you think, oh, I'm just going to pick this specifically to discard for winging it. I think you're then limiting yourself. I think if you've got a tactics card in your hand towards the end of the game, you're like, I'm probably not going to use this now, then yeah, worth then maybe discarding. But I think the price is too high on Star-Lord at the moment for me to consider it any better. That being said, I do think this ability is better than Cyclops's. There, I said it. So he's not actually last. He's just, I read him out last, but I actually do think he's better than Cyclops. But yeah, spending a tactics card in a game where you only get 5 tactics cards, and in theory you could do this every turn. So you could just take 5 garbage tactics cards and just use it once a turn. Maybe that's your strategy. Maybe that's what you really want to do. Probably not turn 1 because you're not going to get the most out of the dice rolls. But turn 2 onwards, just tactics cards gone, get some rerolls. Another tactics card gone, get some rerolls. But that's it. That is our look at the leadership abilities tier, or our thoughts on it, I should say. If you think we're well off the mark, please let us know. If you think we're fairly accurate, again, let us know. We're very open to hearing people's opinions on this. But I hope you enjoyed the video, and subscribe. There will be more coming, and hopefully we'll get the Cabal episode, our Cabal affiliation episode